भद्रं कर्णैभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us pray together. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord, who is the origin of the universe. Lord, Thou abidest in all. Thou art all. Thou assumest all forms. Thou art the origin and goal of all. Thou art the self of all. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss. Salutations unto Thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Let us feel the presence of Divine in our heart as a bright spark of light let us feel that as the truth. The illuminating power of truth I see spreading in my heart. Let us feel that radiance has filled my whole being. And now I see the whole universe filled with the same illumination. Let us feel that light of truth ever present in us, around us, in everyone and in everything as the conscience. With open eyes and with open mind, let us feel the world, the universe with this light of truth. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om, वांग में मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो में वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य आणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासि अनेनाधीतेनाहुरात्रान् संदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May my mind be firmly established in my speech. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed unto me. May my mind and speech enable me to grasp the truth that the scriptures teach. Let me be never forsaken by them. Let me live my life day and night according to that truth. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. Dear friends, let me make it quite clear at the outset that the title for today's lecture has nothing to do with the political conversation that you read about or see on TV these days. It is not about that. In fact, it is not right to waste an important sermon on that silly thing. It is, therefore, but the idea is very important about this fake news and the truth. The verse that I recited in the beginning gives us this truth in its two aspects. But it is truth. It is different from fake news. The truth, as it appeals to us conscientiously, and then when we convey it to others as we perceived it. An honesty is involved in that, a conscientious effort to impart what I perceive to somebody else, that is involved in that. So that is the relative truth. Relative truth means truth seen from a particular angle, and it appears like truth from there, that is correct. But we know that from another angle, if you see, the appearance will be different. It is not same. It is true if you are asked that, well, what is the day today, right now, what is the day? Of course, all of you will say it is Sunday. But then that will not be true if somebody hears it in Australia. In Australia, it is already Monday, you see. So it is not that it is Sunday, is a relative truth, relative to the position that you have right now. And as you perceive the things right now, you are conveying the right thing, that yes, it is Sunday. It is, I heard one telephone, when the phone is not picked, then there is the answering machine that replies. And then it said, the answering machine voice said, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. So it is, yes, it is depending on where you are, it changes. So it is like that it is a relative truth. But suppose you want to mislead somebody, and although you know that the person that you are talking to is in Australia, and then you tell that, well, in Australia it is Sunday right now, then you are misleading that person. It is, or if you say, well, you have Sunday, we also have some other day, you have Monday, and we also have Monday. No, in our perception, although they have Monday, we still have Sunday here. So this is the relative truth that we all live in, deal with. So there, to be telling relative truth or to hold on to relative truth requires that one should be, one shouldn't have the idea of cheating somebody, should be very honest. And that honesty is what is called in this prayer as rhythm. That relative truth. Let me speak the truth that is relative, the appropriate truth. And let me also be aware of the supreme truth and the relative truth. Both are connected with each other, and we need to see that connection. Fake news is that which, when we inspect, even in the relative circumstances, it doesn't bear out to be true. It is seen to be false. And so we know that it is fake. It doesn't conform with the facts, and it has been given with a wrong intention of misleading a person while knowing that it is not true. With the intent of misleading, it was given. So in this context, we examined what is the fake news that we get. The philosopher, mathematician Descartes remarked that our senses often deceive us. And if we are deceived by somebody even once, it is not correct to wholly believe that person, wholly trust that person, because that person has cheated us once. And so that person should not be fully believed. Also, this comes even though the person is not intentionally telling you the lies. And yet it could be a fake news that is coming from that person, because that person got it from somewhere, and it is our tendency to spread, that if I learn something and it is very exciting, I immediately tell people that it is, oh, did you hear this? Yes, and then not only you will tell it, but our tendencies will add some pepper and salt to it, and then we'll bloat it into something bigger, and then that person also does the same thing, and so after it is heard by 10 people in succession like this, it is completely different from what it originally or really was. So it is not intended to be fake news, but turns out to be fake news. It is the fire, for example. It was just a little fire that was, in the compound on some grass. They had put little fire intentionally. Now somebody sees from a distance, oh, it is on fire there, and tells somebody, oh, that house is on fire. Then somebody else tells, oh, there is a big, huge inferno in our neighborhood. So it spreads like fire, the fake news spreads like wildfire. So, although there was no intention exactly of cheating, yet the very tendency of spreading, and spreading with some addition, it goes to spread this fake news very fast. And when you examine, suppose somebody hearing that news calls the fire department, and they come there with their truck, bha, 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 bha. All the neighbors start looking, what happened, why did the fire truck come here? By that time the fire is gone already. Because there was fire to begin with, but it was an intentionally lit fire to burn something around, some grass, some dry hay. So that was about it. But then it was spread like that. So it is fake news, but without any evil intention behind it. When there is an evil intention of misleading, then it is again a fake news, but with different inner effects to it. So the person becomes then a cheat, a deceiver. So these two are to be understood separately. Why do we at all believe in fake news? Why do we get cheated by it? If nobody is going to believe it, it will not get published. It is only because there is a good chance that many will accept it as true that then it is published, because it has a coloring of truth. There is some truth to it, and so there is the tendency to accept it. But it is not wholly true, and therefore when one gets misled and examines, one feels disillusioned, cheated, and angry also, because you expected something and then it was completely different something. So of course there is the fake news also takes advantage of the gullible human nature. We tend to believe superficially instead of examining. That is what, many those who advertise, they do like that. They give the fake news. Many medications, you see the advertisements on TV. So that this will heal this, this will heal this, this will heal this. They tell it with great elaboration and emphasis, bringing in people that how I got cured by taking this. And then when it comes to telling the side effects or contraindications, then immediately this one taken by this. That now legally it can pass because they have given all the that requirement of telling the truth. We have told the truth, but it should be still classed as fake news because it is an intended fake news to get profit. Because it has given intentionally a wrong impression. Even with the credit card companies and all, they sell you many things, and then in the fine print it is written that nobody can really read. It is so printed, as one of our friends says, it is printed white on white, so you cannot really read it what is there. So it says that if you have, then you will be there will be the extra charge of 79.99 for this. If this is transaction like this, then it will, if you default on this. We unconsciously we find that all these problems come because it was a fake news that we accepted, that all the profits were seen. I will get so much of cash back, I will have this, and then we accept that and do not see the other side. So it is, we ourselves also are to be blamed for making the fake news get credence. Our inner desire to get things, to get various types of things in the world without appropriately paying or compensating for them, that also is the source of this fake news. Otherwise, most of the fake news will not survive. If I just apply a little bit of common sense, most fake news will not survive. It is what the present topic is about, how we get cheated by our senses day in and day out. And yet that fake news we believe in. We think that fake news, our sense organs, our eyes, and we believe them, isn't it? I saw it by my eyes, I believe it. I heard by my ears, I believe it. All the inputs that are presented by my senses, I take that as gospel truth. It is true because my senses told me that. And here we forget that how many times what the senses told us came out to be not true. That is why that Descartes' statement is so important here. That wise man said that, look, even we are cheated by a person once, then we are very careful to credit that person as telling the truth. Maybe that person will not be telling truth because that is what that person had did once. So our senses, they tell us so many false stories they create through the mind, and our mind, as I mentioned earlier, our own desires play a very big role in creating the fake news. So immediately a picture is conjured that the senses give an input. This is such a nice place. Now my tendencies to enjoy that gets coupled with it, and thus the picture becomes a big picture and very attractive. All the possible pitfalls in that, they are kind of pushed aside, they are covered, they are printed white on white, and thus we go to get that, and soon enough we find thoroughly cheated because of this fake news brought to us by the senses. And yet we are so stupid that again and again we keep falling prey to that news. All of us here, nobody is a very little child. Even our Advaita, he is not a very small child. He also understands things. Everybody has seen that what was the senses have shown did not always come out to be true. Magicians base all their shows on this deficiency in us, that although we see, we miss more than what we see. There are so many gaps in our sensual perception that the magician takes the help of that, exploits those, and therefore we get cheated. We just saw the magician putting this flower into this box, and this box did not get moved at all. He showed us in the box, look, it is here. And then while the box was just here, and somebody comes and he wants to give flower to that person, puts hand in the box, the flower is not there, shows the flower is gone. Now where did it go? Our senses were just cheating us, deceiving us. In the meantime, the flower was put there and something happened that we did not see. Our senses failed to see that, and thus we get cheated. This is a common occurrence. It is not only magicians do it with the intention of creating fun and getting some income out of it. Thieves use it, this technique, that they divert the attention of people and just take whatever they have and go away. In India, they have made a very fine art of these things, that how to steal the bags of passengers, and since the passengers know that it is going to, the thieves are around, they try to keep a strict watch on that. And yet, these thieves manage to hoodwink them and run away with the bags or whatever booty they can collect. It is very nice. One of my friends, he had kept one bag and then was keeping a watch on it. Although was sleeping in the train, was every now and then was looking, and then found that, well, his bag is here, the bag is here, and when the station that he wanted to get out at, he saw that his bag is still there, and he picked the bag, and the bag appeared to be light, then lighter than what he had brought, took it out, and then it was another bag that was looking like his bag. The thief had put that bag there and then took this bag and went away. Now this is, see, the senses keep on thus deceiving us. It happens in our life so many times that we go with the expectation of pleasure because our senses create. And that is all of us. Nobody goes that there is the misery there and let me go and get some misery. And no, we all go with the idea that there is happiness here. This person, if this person comes in my life, the life will be so happy. Very tempting idea that it is, yes, I need to have that in life. But then we feel cheated. Our senses and mind, they created a hoax that this is the source of happiness, and thus now we feel deceived, cheated, gone, feel angry, but now very little can be done. So this is an important thing that a spiritual aspirant has to bear in mind, that whatever appears, comes through us, through the senses, needs to be checked. Is it true? Will it survive the test of truth? Means, will it be durable? The test of truth is that what is there, it will, on examination, it will bear out that it was the correct perception. When you go to examine, like all the fake news that we read about in newspapers also, and that is how it was seen as fake news, or called fake news, because when the facts were examined, then they did not match with the news, and thus it was branded then as fake news, that this was given to you, but the facts were different, so that news was not the right news. So, when we see something, then the mind immediately, as we see it, our senses are our informants, our informers. Our informers have brought this news, and we trust our informers that they must have brought the right news, and then we rely on that. But if we go and test it, that, well, it is the news brought by this informer called eyes, and these eyes have their limitations, their own way of functioning, and then the information that the eyes bring gets again not just filtered but added on by the inner instrument called mind, intellect, and so forth. That instrument further changes it, distorts it, and then brings it to me. Now I must examine before acting that that these are the limitations of these instruments, and therefore what they bring me will be defective. If I know that it is defective, then I will not unnecessarily condemn it. I will use that information too, but I will see its limitations, that my eyes and then my mind, they have conjured up to bring this information to me. So now let me put it to the test of truth and see if it is right or not right. Thus we will be able to become free from getting cheated. We will not get cheated if we know the limitations of the senses. And this is very important for us who are striving to reach the truth. Truth is the goal. There is nothing superior to truth. Truth is what we all are seeking. And so, when we want to see the truth, we must see all our informers, whatever they bring, we should see with their limitations. I remember one Swami was being given some piece of news, and Swami asked him, and did you see it? Please describe what exactly you saw. And that person got a bit irritated. Don't you believe me? Do you think am I a liar? Why are you asking again? The Swami calmly said that I believe you and I don't believe you. I believe you because you also have the spark of divine in you, so I believe you. And I don't believe you because you are also in ignorance. You are also in Maya. That is the word he used there. You are in Maya, and therefore, even though you may be trying conscientiously to convey the truth, but yet you have your limitations, and that is why I am getting this more clarified before taking any action. So, I believe you and I don't believe you. What a beautiful this message it was. We all have the divine spark in us, and so there is truth in us, and so we should be believed. But then we all are in ignorance as well. We are all in this universal ignorance. We are part of that, and therefore we have this problem too, that it is we are uh, liable to false perception and then falsely conveying it. So we can generate fake news, and it is therefore very important that we be very conscientious, especially since we are identified with our bodies, which is the main problem in spiritual life, that we are identified not with spirit but with body. And then, therefore, we consider the body to be I, mind to be I. All the sensory instruments, they also are considered to be I. They are not seen as instruments, and therefore, since they are seen as I, we automatically accept whatever they tell as truth. But it is not true. That is how we get bound in this world, by taking that which is fake as true. It is even this suggestion that we should therefore get a detached look at what the senses are conveying, many times meets with a frown. Why detached? Is that what other instruments we have? It is all our instruments. The eyes, ears, they are to be. And even if you say that they are telling, they can tell that which is not truth, what other means do we have to have truth? This is an argument that is presented by not just ordinary people, the scientists, that okay, it may be that our senses are limited, but what other instruments do we have? It is, we have to just, maybe we will refine the sense perception, we will not look just by these eyes, but attach a microscope to it. It will refine what we see. Or we will attach a telescope to it to see that which is far. But basically our sense organs, they are the instruments that with which we see this universe, and so that needs to be relied upon. This is because we do not have any other instruments. Friends, this is not the correct perception. Because of our attachments to the body, mind and senses, we feel that there is nothing else, no other instruments of perception. We have other instruments of perception which are deeper. It is, and for that we have to say that these instruments, the sense organs, they are not me but my instruments. As soon as we think like that, then we shall be able to see the defects. That which is identified with me, I do not see the defects of it. The defects of only others are seen, you see. So the defects of sense organs would be noticed only if we develop the attitude that they are instruments, they are not I. Thus we shall be able to see the limitations of this whole instrument of perception. Instrument of perception is the body, the mind, the intellect, and the sense organs. All of that together become the instrument of perception. With that I perceive. And as Kathopanishad therefore tells this, taking that as the reality or the self is the cause of bondage. It is in the second chapter, first canto, the verse begins, Paranchikhani vyatrinat swayambhu tasmat parang pashyati nantaratman. That these sense organs, these instruments, they can only see the outer, the superficial, and therefore they do not have the inherent capability to sense the truth. And thus those who want to see the self, the innermost reality, what do? They transcend these senses, they cover them, so to say. Cover means they do not use them, and thus they, what do? They realize the self through the inner intuitive instrument, which does not thus get mutilated through the contact of the senses. So thus it is to be seen in this way. If we see the truth and the inputs from the senses together, then it is not a problem to use the senses. Like Sri Ramakrishna would use, that he used the senses to see everything. But since he had he had full perception of the total truth, he would not get tempted by the appearances, and was thus able to see that this is right and this is not right. He would see, for example, anything with a double perception. Double means, double perception is like this: the superficial appearance that the sense organs convey, and the inherent divinity that is pervading it. It is the two together. Like you see this as a podium. Yes, it is podium, but this is wood as well. It is wood and podium. So seeing this both brings us to this clarity of truth, that it is everything is in name and form relatively looks like this, but it is not all that it is. It is God appearing in these forms. Now the senses will not be able to cheat us. These forms become, tempting and therefore cheat us only because we see the name, form, the appearance. When we see that the hidden thing behind the appearance, then together this perception reveals the truth. So this is the idea in this. So let us, whatever we see or hear, let us make it a practice to learn or to think of it as what we see and God. It is God seen like this. That is God or truth, whatever you may say, God seen like this. So, because it is God, so if seen like this is a changing aspect, it changes. Today it is like one, tomorrow it is something different. It is, it changes. But the God of whom these are the appearances, it does not change. They, in Chandogya Upanishad, this example is given and it is repeated again and again, that the clay pots made of clay, now the pots break, they get made, and so again they break, again they get remade. Now the pots, they come and go, but the clay remains. The clay, even when you were seeing the pot, it was clay, and then even when the pot breaks, the clay remains. So to see that pot as both, the name and form, the shape, as well as the nature of it, the clay, that brings us to a comprehensive truth, and thus we become free from error, and thus we become free from getting cheated and entangled and bound in this world. So let us make a resolve to try to do that with each of our perception. Any questions that one may have about this? Oh, you have a question, okay.
What if someone feels that they're deceiving someone for a good cause?
Well, it is, you are right there, such things do come. If the cause is really, really good, conscientiously done, then it is right, it is not deceiving. But if it is for something selfish, I understand what you are saying, that suppose somebody is sick and then telling some true piece of information is likely to increase the sickness of that person. Then knowing this, if you do not tell the truth to that person, then it is right. In fact, telling the person that truth, that piece of information, if that is going to break that fellow's heart, is going to kill that person, then it is better that you don't. But that should be the intention. Yeah. Anything else? Yes? That is, well, called absolute truth. It is now the word after all. In the prayer, it was described as Ritam and Satyam. Ritam is truth, but at a relative level, what you would call as truth. And then Satyam is the absolute truth, regardless of what your position is. It is, that is like Sat Chid Ananda, the existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute, that is the absolute truth. In the absolute truth, there is no scope for differentiation or variety, because differentiation makes it limited. But there can be the differentiation in appearance, and if we take it together, then it still is the absolute truth, that the God who manifests as this world, if taken like that, then that is, yes, absolute truth. As soon as, of course, I put it in the words, it becomes relative. That's the problem with it, It is, bring me the heart of a live person. Well, if I take out, then the person dies, live person. So that is how it is, that when you put it to words, it loses its absoluteness. Yes, Carol? Both the case that you cited, that there are these miracles shown where, or they happen, a person has an X-ray showing some problems, and then some magic or something happens, and then the X-ray is seen as all problems are gone. Now it is absolute, both are relative truths here. None of that is absolute as such. Because these things, maybe it could be a sleight of hand by somebody, or it does happen, the symptoms of the disease get reversed, or there are so many processes that we or medical science does not know or understand, that how it happens. It has happened not too long ago with one of our Swamis. I went to see him. He was suffering from that last stage of cancer, and his liver had been affected, the intestines had been affected, pancreas was getting affected, lungs were getting affected. It was spreading like anything, and the doctors had told that maybe 2 to 4 weeks. So we all Swamis went there. All the documentary evidence was like that he cannot survive, and he had become really so weak, hardly could speak. Okay, he smilingly welcomed me, but the words were not audible. And then he decided that, well, since anyway he is going to die, why stay in the hospital? He said, bring me to the Vedanta center. So he came back, and he started just some alternative therapy or things like that. And I called after a couple of weeks just to see. I thought he might have already said bye-bye or on the verge of that. But his attendant said, well, surprisingly, he has shown improvements. And well, after a few months, the whole disease was wiped out. All the X-rays and blood tests and every documentary evidence showed that there is no sign of disease left anymore. And he, who could not just even stand up, somebody had to hold him. That Swami, in 6 months, was moving around. He came next year for the inauguration ceremony of this hall, It is, yeah. So now it did happen. Now, but this is relative truth. None of that is absolute truth. It is, these things happen, because our understanding of science, medical science especially, is not complete as such. We know many things, and certainly there are lots of laudable advancements, there is no doubt about it. But still there are problems, we do not know how these things happen. So, but they do happen. Just because we don't have an explanation, we cannot discard the facts. So, it is like that. So, it is, none of that is absolute truth. both are relative truths. That documentary evidence, that X-ray or whatever was also true. This X-ray is also true. If it is something done to cheat somebody, that is a different matter. But whether it is that or this, it is, in both cases, it is just the relative truth. In the case of cheating, it is not even a relative truth. It is the perfect fake news. So it is like that. So, let us conclude with the closing prayers. Before that, let me request Vishwanath to do his offertory. The Tuesday and Friday lectures will go on as usual. Next Sunday, that is 24th of September, Sunday 24th September, the topic will be Visions of Sri Ramakrishna. Visions of Sri Ramakrishna. The Tuesday class will be on Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Friday on Jnana Yoga. And well, what more? There will be the Durga Puja on September 30th. So it is a whole day program, so try to come for that too. There will be, as you know, a santur concert. Santur is like hammer dulcimers, a very nice sounding instrument, and a young but very talented santur player, Vinay Desai. He will be playing just immediately after Arati, so please join in that as well. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Chinese faith, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.